Hi, Julianne here again. Chapter 2 of my journey down the ocean and all the lessons that I've learned that came to fruition, and also just lessons that I learned about life and spirituality. And this is our journey down the coast. It was so cold and wet. We were drenched to the bone most of the time. And even though it was like the end of August, early September, out on the ocean, everything just gets so wet. And we did not have an autopilot, so that means either me or my husband at the time would have to be driving like 3 hours on, 3 hours off, or 4 hours on, 4 hours off. So it was truly a test of endurance and patience. So, anyways, my dad and his wife sailed around the world 14 years. And he warned me, he's like, well, be careful when you get to the Santa Barbara Channel because there's barges out there that don't have any lights on them. Well, we got around Point Conception. Point Conception is notorious because it's a big point and you've got all these convergence of waves and currents and wind because it's where California takes that deep dive in. And so we got around Point Conception. We were so happy. We pulled over to an anchorage and there was surfers and a train went by and it was so amazing. We finally felt like we could relax and kind of took a nap and enjoyed the peacefulness of not being out on that coast. Well, another boat came into this anchorage with us. There was only two of us, and the night went on, and it started getting a little choppy, a little windy, and then I noticed my husband at the time fell asleep, and I noticed the other boat like packed everything up really quick and got out of there. And I'm like, well, I don't want to wake my husband because it was super, super hard trip down the coast. And so, anyways, the wind kept picking up and picking up and picking, and all of a sudden our boat was crashing like this, and we were on anchorage right by the shore. And so I turned on the navigation system, and it showed us actually being on the shore. So all of a sudden, panic mode set in, and my husband was trying to get the anchor up and he couldn't get it up, and we were just bashing and the waves were crashing over him, and I kept yelling. It was pitch black. I kept making sure he was still on the boat, and I was waiting to gun it so we can, once we had that anchor up, because I kept looking back thinking that we were on shore. And then we finally got out the anchor up, and I just gunned it, and I was hoping I was going in the right direction because it was so dark. And then we were heading out into the Santa Barbara Channel. And all I could think at this point was what my dad told me, that there are barges out there with no lights on them. And I'm thinking, we're gonna hit one of these barges. I just know it. We're gonna hit these barges. And mentally, I just completely shut down, and I was so drenched. We found out it was the first Santa Ana event in California. They call it the first major Santa Ana event, and it was pouring down rain, and I just literally hunkered over the engine and tried not to think about anything because my mind was going berserk. And the next day, and I told my husband, I said, I cannot drive. I can't do it. I just sat out there with my eyes as wide as open as possible, looking for these barges, thinking we're going to hit one. Well, we made it through the night. I was a wreck, and there was no barges. We didn't hit anything, but the sun came up the next day, and we went into this place called Potato Harbor, and it was kind of a small harbor. And I wrote my first blog post, and I just remember my imagination, how wild it was going. And this is what happens in life too. It's like when we get things in our mind that we think are so true, but sometimes they're not. It's just all made up in our minds. I call our minds assholes, because if we only listen to our mind and not our gut or our heart, then we make rash decisions. But if we can stop for a moment, take a breath, and listen to our heart space, use our gut our gut instincts, our heart, and our brain all in alignment, then we make better decisions. So, our thoughts, emotions, and feelings create our reality. Well, I created this monster of a scenario. I mean, it wasn't the most comfortable in the world, that's for sure, but my mind made it worse. And we survived, and usually we all do somehow. The ground will always beneath your feet, but it's really important to keep those thoughts positive, because that's how positive things turn around and your life start changing and positive things start happening. So, signing off, this is chapter 2. I just wanted to share that little Santa Barbara excursion and keep our thoughts positive and be mindful of what we think about, especially when judging others, because we don't know what they're going through or what their life experience is supposed to be like in this lifetime. All right, signing off. Love you.